The castles of Wales, like this one behind me in Denbigh, have stood for many centuries as symbols of oppression and injustice. In later years, however, injustice in Wales has worn different faces, and as a result, many thousands of Welsh people sought a refuge in the New World. Many came to places like Wilkes-Barre in northeast Pennsylvania, an area which probably had the greatest concentration of Welsh people outside of Wales at the beginning of the century. The fast-growing town on the banks of the Susquehanna River soon proved to be the new beginning for thousands of Welsh immigrants who passed through the halls of Ellis Island. This proved to be especially true of the hundreds of miners who came from the valleys of South Wales to mine the hard anthracite coal which they were familiar with. They also brought their Welsh denominations with them, and at one time there were some 50 Welsh chapels in the valley. The chapels had their Gymanfa Ganu, and every year the Welsh of North America gather to socialize and sing the old hymns. They also gather in seminars to learn something of the traditions of the land of their fathers, as well as to update themselves on new trends. And during the last 10 years, the Gymanfa has grown out of all recognition. The venue for the 1993 National Gymanfa Ganu was Wilkes-Barre, and the convention centre was the Ramada Inn on the public square with its fountains and foliage, as well as its tweeting pedestrian crossing. For 3 days, everyone gathered in the marketplace, a haven for tea drinkers, and an opportunity to meet appropriately dressed tea ladies.
This is Duda here or
Dallas, Pennsylvania, rwan.
Ond nid yn Dallas ddysgoch chi'r iaith yna?
Na, ni yn Llanwy Fechan, yn Cymru.
A pryd ddechrau chi drosodd yma i?
Yn 1950.
Pam o'ch chi'n dod felly?
I gyfarfod y teulu yn wlad yma. Ac nes i gyfarfod yn ŵr. Dwi ma byth.
Ac i chi wedi bod yn helpu gyda'r te ac ati yma?
Do, trwy'r flwyddyn dwytha yma. Ac it's finally here.
Ac i chi wedi have all the tea ladies bought clothes like this?
Well, we've made them. And everybody that's on the committee try to wear them.
You've been working very hard for the past 2 years. Do you think it's all been worth it?
Oh, definitely. See the crowd here today.
But no occasion as big as the Gymanfa succeeds without its organising committee. One of the first problems was to acquire a building big enough to accommodate 3,000 people. None of the large religious buildings in Wilkes-Barre was adequate, and so they crossed the Susquehanna River and found the Armoury. But such a unique building would have to be adapted and prepared for the Gymanfa itself. A big operation in 1993, as the local chairman explained.
The events planned begin on Thursday with a Nosenlauen and the folk evening, and that's followed on Friday by a big banquet that we're going to have. And Saturday we have a concert planned, and of course Sunday is the Gymanfa Ganu itself. And all during those days we have seminars taking place, there are tours going on, there's a grand marketplace over in the Ramada Hotel, so there's all sorts of events taking place.
This surely involves quite a lot of money as well, does it?
Well, yes, and as a matter of fact, a good deal of money is taken care of through this. We have a treasury that I think the gross receipts have exceeded $150,000, as a matter of fact, in the planning for this, yes.
And where does the money come from?
Well, of course, the money comes from ticket sales for the various events and the hotel reservations. The money comes in from that. And, of course, we have some donations. People are very generous to us and help us out in the planning with some donations, memorials to loved ones, that sort of thing, too.
What about the city's involvement in all of this? Is there any involvement?
Oh, indeed there is. We've had, the mayor has presented the key to the city to the national president of the Welsh National Gymanfa Ganu Association. We have our representative from Washington who will be here for the ceremonies on Saturday, and the local senators, the state senators will be here. So there's a good deal of involvement from the city and the county people, too, yes.
And this is going to be the best Gymanfa ever?
We certainly expect it will be, yes. Yes, indeed.
While these preparations were going on, others were attending various organised events, amongst them seminars to do with Welsh life and culture.
Visit in this area and the address. And later on, in the 1930s, you'll even find photographs of these people.
I think one of the horrible things that I see these days is when chapel has been turned into a garage. These chapels have been bought to become youth-centred. Great example is the one that we are in Cardiff, another one is down at Dare. An old chapel was bought, you can see some for £150.
Since the 60s, there's been a great campaign to teach people Welsh, not just kids from Welsh-speaking homes, you know, getting Welsh education in schools, but also adults, people who've moved in from England, or even the last bastion of resistance, which is the English-speaking Welsh. Very English-speaking, like Gwent, formerly Monmouthshire, where it was something like 3% of the population that ever spoke Welsh. There's been a boom. There's been a call for Welsh language nursery schools, and then as those kids got older, then they needed Welsh language primary schools. A lot of parents who don't speak any Welsh at all wanted their kids to speak Welsh. And so there's been a boom in Welsh medium education in the English-speaking areas, and that came out on the census.
When I was a small child in Wales, my dad used to tell me stories about Welsh children. It was hard to know if his tales were true or merely figments of his imagination. He told me about dragons, knights, and druids. In a Welsh course, I realized that at least one of his stories was true and was about himself. Long ago, a small boy wanted an education so he could escape the poverty and despair that was his lot in the coal mining area in which he lived. The child spoke only Welsh, as did his family. His family were very poor. His dad and brothers were coal miners. He had one sister who was beautiful, but her health was not good. His mother died when he was a year old. Worn out from the conditions under which she lived, she contracted enteric fever, and in her frail state it killed her. The women of the valley were considered to be good for only a few things. Under the domination of the men, they bore too many children and worked too hard in their small confinement cottages. The men too were ignorant, but they were stronger than the women. It was a case of the blind leading the blind.
Rowan told her the story of what had happened. Both the Queen and Rowan were stunned. What kind of man was this that would come to the kingdom of the Noan, sleep in the same bed with the Queen for a year and a day, and not touch her? Well, this was a faithful, steadfast companion, and they both knew it well. Meantime, back in Whitman, Push went around asking people, well, how did I do this year? He said, Lord, this was the best year ever of your rule. Never were you so generous. Never did the mead flow so well. The songs, the stories, the poems, they were beautiful. You ruled wisely. Well, this was something new for Push.
Tours were arranged so that visitors could see the area itself, especially those communities with strong Welsh associations. One tour visited the old Welsh chapels and churches of the valley, and we caught up with them at the first Welsh Presbyterian church. At one time, there were a large number of Welsh chapels in the Wilkes-Barre Scranton area. Before building their fine buildings, the Welsh held prayer meetings in their homes and eventually organized themselves into traditional Welsh denominations.
When was the heyday of Welsh immigration to this area, Beth?
In the late 1800s, they came here from South Wales mostly, to do anthracite mining because that's what they knew best. And there used to be quite a few anthracite mines in the area.
One of the trolley tours during this Gymanfa is a tour of the Welsh churches. There were a number of Welsh churches here at one time.
Yes, there were over 40 in Wyoming Valley at one time. And there's probably around 20 that are still in existence.
Were a number of those Welsh language churches?
Yes, yes. Most of them originally started out as Welsh language churches, and in the 1920s it died out and changed to English.
We're here now at the First Welsh Presbyterian. You still keep the name.
Yes.
You're a member of this church?
Yes. My children are the 5th generation of my family that have gone to this church, and 3 generations of my family are involved in the national, my mother and myself and my daughter Megan.
It seems to me that it's quite a family church. Old Welsh families still have their membership here.
Oh, yes, yes. Our church choir is a lot of families. My whole family sings in the church choir, and my mother, and there's mothers and daughters and fathers and sons-in-law. It's a great family church.
Why would you say that they still keep the Welsh element if there's no Welsh service, for instance?
Well, it's a very important aspect of our life that we keep the heritage alive, and people are just very interested in it in this area to keep it going and let our children know where they came from.
And so the Welsh Americans of today are still drawing from the old wells as well as the new. And in the marketplace, another opportunity to make new friends as well as meet old ones. And also to meet a Welshman who'd come especially from Wales to sell jewellery made by his mother in Tregaron. Wel, mae'n rhyfedd gweld bod chi draw yma. Beth ydych chi'n hollol eich wneud?
Wel, dys i draw i trade fair yn Alexandria yn mis Mehefin, a nes i gwrdd â Earl Williams, y person sy'n rhedeg y stondin yma. A roedd e wahoddiad I fi ddod â gemwaith mam I Gymanfa Ganu, a o'n i'n meddwl, am lai, gawn ni draw I America I weld pwy fath o bobl sydd yma.
And what are your sales like here in the Gymanfa?
I've been pleasantly surprised, and a lot of contacts, a lot of people wanting catalogues and things. It's good.
People from where, you know, all over the States or just locally?
Everywhere, everywhere. A lot of local people, as you'd expect, but from everywhere. Ohio, Connecticut, Florida, the West Coast, definitely, everywhere. And Canada, a lot of people from Canada.
You've been to trade fairs here before, but you haven't come to the Gymanfa?
No, I've never been to the Gymanfa before. I'd always had a preconception that the Gymanfa was sort of a lot of hymn singing and things that I wouldn't personally be into. But there are actually quite a few young people here, and it's been good.
As well as selling and singing, the Gymanfa was an occasion to hold a unique event on the public square. Tribute and honour was paid to a person who had contributed immensely to the Welsh heritage of Wyoming Valley.
Don Miller and I will take the flag which has covered the plaque, present it to Mary, and that concludes our dedication. Thank you very much.
Karen, this isn't your first Gymanfa. You've been to one before?
No, this is my second. The last one I was at 1983, 10 years ago, here in Wilkes-Barre.
And did you sing there as well?
Yes, myself and Amy sang the Welsh National Anthem 10 years ago.
You pronounce the words very well. How does this come about? You know, do you go to courses or what?
I've been to 3 courses, Course Cymraeg, 81, 84, and 86. I don't speak a lot now because I'm out of practice, but I do pronounce very well.
Do you read any Welsh, you know? Do you get any material to read?
I try to where I can, but it's mostly reading through hymns and things like that.
What have you been to in the Gymanfa this year?
I've been to the Nos an Lawen and the folk night on Thursday evening, which I really enjoyed, triple harpist, and also the folk singing, which I haven't sung in a few years, so I really enjoyed that.
What did you think of David Iwan?
Oh, he was great. Even though I only caught a few words here and there, you still could understand what he was saying.
And are you going to attend any seminars yourself?
Yes, I will be going to the folk dancing this afternoon, which I really like a lot. And then, of course, the 2 sessions tomorrow.
Well, persevere with your Welsh.
Thank you. Gymanfa.
And of course, the future of the Welsh identity in North America lies in the hands of young people like Karen Pugh. Other young people, as well as some of the older generation, took part in a Nos an Lawen, compared by John Albert Evans, who'd come over from Wales especially for that event. What does coming to the Gymanfa mean to you, John?
Well, it means a great deal, actually. It's the first time I've had the opportunity of coming to the Gymanfa. As you know, I've been coming out here for a number of years now for the various courses out here. And first of all, it's been sort of a grand reunion of all these people who've been on these courses. And it's also so interesting to meet people who have left the homeland and so on, and who are still very, very interested in what is actually happening back home. And also, of course, it's an opportunity for us also to charge our batteries. I think it's important for us in Wales to realise, you know, that there are people living so far away from the homeland who are really supportive of what we are trying to do. It's all part of this survival battle that we have for the future of the language and the culture. It's so very important. Now, you meet also some interesting characters who come here to the Gymanfa to charge their batteries. They want to go back home and do their little thing for Wales. And if I can just relate one little simple story about my good old friend Tom Jeffries from Baltimore, who unfortunately died during the course of the last year. Now, Tom and I became very good friends a number of years ago. And the experience I had with him one day, going out shopping, going to the supermarket with Tom. And he parked his car in his car park of the supermarket. In he marched into the supermarket, and I was a couple of yards behind him. And suddenly Tom broke out in song, Unwaith eto Nghymru a nwyl am dro ar dir fy ngwlad, out loud in the supermarket. I couldn't believe this. So I stepped back a couple of yards. And I said to Tom, well, why are you doing this, Tom? Oh, I do it every Friday, he said. What do you mean do it every Friday? Oh, yeah, sing here this song every Friday. Well, what's the point of singing this song here every Friday? This is the only way you can meet Welsh people, he said. Well, Tom said, you've been out here now for 60 years. How many people have you met over that period? Well, I met 5, he said, right? Now, to me, I thought it was great. Now, there's a guy so far away from home, and it was something special for him to have met these 5. And I think these people come into the Gymanfa Ganu here, meet each other, there's camaraderie, they charge each other's batteries, because we certainly, the Welsh language needs every single person, wherever they are in the world, to help us with this battle for the survival of the Welsh language and culture.
Lawr y lan y môr te, pawb yn barod? Mi gwrddai si a merch bach fel, lawr ar lan y môr, lawr ar lan y môr, lawr ar lan y môr. Mi gwrddai si a merch bach fel, lawr ar lan y môr, lawr ar lan yr eneth ar lan y môr. O rwy'n gari di, o rwy'n gari di, yr eneth ar lan y môr. Gofynnais am un gysan bach, lawr ar lan y môr, lawr ar lan y môr, lawr ar lan y môr. Gofynnais am un gysan bach, lawr ar lan y môr, lawr ar lan y môr. O rwy'n gari di, o rwy'n gari di, yr eneth ar lan y môr. O rwy'n gari di, o rwy'n gari di, yr eneth ar lan y môr. That song really came out of a dream which shattered, a dream of freedom in a far-off land which didn't quite materialize. I know it did perhaps to some extent for others, but this is the Welsh version of Tiger Bay, Draw, Draw ymhell. Aeth lawr i'r pwll yn 4 mlwydd ar ddeg, ond erbyn hyn ni a llai o ddemw, fe geisiodd godi'r teulu bach rhywun, ond gwelai'r golau'n pylu yn ei llygaid hwn. Fe werthodd bopeth mwyn gwneud y daith, a chloiodd rws y tŷ lle'i ganwyd Gadael bro a gadael gwir graig, a mynd ar longyn dydd o Tiger Bay, a hwylio draw, draw ymhell i'w wlad sydd wel. Hwylio'r nos ar dydd i fod yn rhydd, rhydd, rhydd. Fyny yma o hyd, gweitha pawb a phopeth, gweitha pawb a phopeth, gweitha pawb a phopeth, fyny yma o hyd. Cofiwn i facsen wledig, a dail ein gwlad yn un dar, a blwyddyn gerbron y gwledydd, yn yma hyd dydd y bar. Gweitha pob dig Sion Dafydd, gweitha henwag i a'i chrew, byddwn yma i diwedd amser, a fydd yr iaith Gymraeg yn fyw yma o hyd. Ryni yma o hyd, gweitha pawb a phopeth, gweitha pawb a phopeth, gweitha pawb a phopeth, ryni yma o hyd. Unwaith eto. Ryni yma o hyd, gweitha pawb a phopeth, gweitha pawb a phopeth, gweitha pawb a phopeth, ryni yma o hyd.
Dafydd Iwan, together with other participants from Wales, had been sponsored by the Welsh Tourist Board, which lends the Gymanfa immense support every year. They ensure that the Welsh of North America are made aware of the Wales of today, the emphasis being, of course, on tourism. At a reception for the various people involved in the Gymanfa, we met, amongst others, Howard Stringer, president of CBS Television, originally from Barry and guest speaker at the banquet.
It's funny, actually, I've become more Welsh in America than in some ways I was in Great Britain, because you take Welshness for granted in England. Over here, everyone's been getting in touch with their roots, but I've always connected to the sense of a small minority that's done a great deal in the United States. It's had presidents and signers of the Declaration of Independence and entertainers and politicians and millionaires and so forth, all of whom have a sort of unique characteristic. They have blended as well in America, has taken over America as effortlessly as indeed they blended into England. This is the world's friendliest minority, the Welsh, I think, and with little or no resentment and a great deal of poetry and song and musical and entertainment skills so that I've connected in the entertainment business very directly with Wales and very easily with Wales.
Are they aware at CBS that you are a Welshman?
Well, I'm always Welsh-born now. Everything begins with Welsh-born Howard Stringer. It's almost, I don't know, it's almost given it an identity, a color and a personality I otherwise lack. It's almost a badge that I have now, and I'm thrilled to have it. But it's always Welshman. Interestingly enough, the New York Times, when recently a Welsh runner won the 100 meters hurdles in the World Track and Field Championship, it was Welshman, a headline. So they've suddenly discovered the Welsh over here. It's Welsh golfers and so forth, and it makes you proud to be of a small country of 2 million people who have connected in such a large positive way without whining, without complaining, without demanding, without being militant, but just effortlessly and graciously. And I actually feel more proud of Wales over here than I ever thought.
You're not Welsh, you're American. Were you aware of all this Welshness before meeting Jack?
Before meeting Jack? No. But his family's very well.
Has he been away from home much during the past few years?
He's not been home at all.
And what role have you had to play in all of this?
Just keep the home fires burning, I guess.
Is it important that you come to the Gymanfa to publicize the brief?
Oh yes, it's very important because much of Welsh North America is here. Plus, for those who are not already subscribers, it's important for them to realize that this is the way they can find out about the next event and about regional and local events in between.
Personally, I believe the brief has changed quite a lot since the years you've been the editor and the owner of it. Has this been on purpose?
Well, gobeithio that it's changed. I hope it has, and yes, it certainly has been on purpose. I have made a conscious choice to include more news of Wales, also more Welsh language. I have a Welsh language column in which they can learn Welsh, but I also run bilingual articles, and I've tried to sort of move it a little bit, maybe upscale is too fancy a word maybe, but a little bit, really as good a presentation as I can manage it aesthetically and graphically.
What does coming to the Gymanfa mean to you personally?
Oh, well, it's a time of great memories and a connection with my past, because I've been to Gymanfa since I was an infant, and it always was a major part of my life growing up. It was so important that it was the only day of the year ever that my father got somebody to do the chores so we could go to the Gymanfa. This would be the Minnesota Gymanfa. I grew up on a farm. There was no other event, barring weddings, graduations, anything, that my father got someone to do the chores for except the Gymanfa. And I've been to the National for a lot of years, and I like it, and I know it's important to people, and it's doubly important to me now because, in fact, I've been asked to direct the National Gymanfa next year, and so I'm looking at things with new eyes this year, and I'm listening and trying to be responsive to what people need and want, and trying to do as best good a job as I can of that.
What does coming to the Gymanfa mean to you?
Well, it means everything to me. I've been coming every year for about 12 years now. It's a getting together of Welsh people. Some of them were born here, and some of us from Wales, or Gymanfa. It's something I look forward to, and it's the one thing I wouldn't want to miss in the various Welsh affairs I go to.
And so far, you've been very pleased with the Wilkes-Barre Pennsylvania?
Oh yes, I was here 10 years ago and it was wonderful then. I think it'll even be better this time. Because last night, I've never seen so many people in an awesome Lawen. It was amazing.
Is it important for Ninai to be present here at the Gymanfa?
Yes, it's very important for a couple of reasons. One is a sentimental reason. Nina was born in the shadow of the Gymanfa Ganu. That was 18 years ago in New York City, when we announced that Nina was coming out. And we got about 200 subscribers right there. And of course, we have been associated with the Gymanfa all these 18 years. Every Gymanfa Ganu, National Gymanfa Ganu, we celebrate breakfast, editorial council breakfast, where we get together the people that contribute to Nina and we recognize their contribution and their loyalty, and we talk a little bit of business and how we should contribute, and a little bit of technical matters, how manuscripts should be written and so on. And in that way we have contributed considerably to North American Welsh journalism. And it's important also because this is the main event in Welsh life in North America, where we can get in touch with the people that constitute our audience. And that's important because the purpose of Nina is to answer the needs of the Welsh people here in the United States and in Canada, and to strengthen links with the whole country, to let the Welsh people, remind them of their traditions, and to stimulate them to do new things and to renovate their ethnicity, as we call it here, so that all in all it's a very important occasion for us.
What does your association with the Gymanfa mean to the Welsh Tourist Board?
Well, there are two things about it. First of all, this is the largest community, expatriate community in the world outside Wales. So it is, of course, a marvellous opportunity for the board to promote Wales as a holiday destination. We want to encourage people with Welsh connections in the United States and Canada to come to Wales for their holidays. But there's a bit more than that, and this is the second very important reason that we associate ourselves with it. It is so important, I think, to tell people in the USA and Canada and all over the world where the Welsh are settled that the traditions that they remember or have been told about still exist. Of course, it's important to tell them that Wales has moved on, and that we are no longer a country of coal mines. We still have good, efficient steelworks, but no longer a country of coal mines. We are a modern industrial country and a very important region of Europe. It's important to get that point across. But some of the traditions which are so important to us in Wales, they haven't changed. Traditions of culture and welcome and artistic creativity, all of that is very important.
Well, ydyn ni'n barod? Did anybody have any trouble with that? Yes, yes. Oes cwestiynau? Are there any questions? Nag oes, da iawn. Let's have the music, cerddoriaeth. Cerddoriaeth I cwpl 1. I mean the new couple one. 5, 2, 3 and cast. All the way to the bottom. Here we go. Rightly. Yeah.
People are already looking forward to next year's Gymanfa, which will be held in Seattle on the western seaboard. And naturally, they had a stall in the marketplace to persuade people to make the long journey to Washington State.
We're, for the first time in the National Gymanfa Ganu series, we're holding an Eisteddfod. It's a seed Eisteddfod. We're having a solo competition, choir competition, and instrumental competition. But we hope it goes because we want to set it up as a tradition for these national weekend events for the coming years.
Is it becoming a competition now between Gymanfas to start something new?
Well, you could argue that. We looked at the last couple of years of Gymanfas, and the folk concert came in 2 years ago, which was something new, and it reflects what's going on in Wales today. We're hoping to continue the folk concert, but we wanted to do something else as well. And the Eisteddfod, I think, is also a reflection of how vigorous the Eisteddfod is back in Wales. And I think it's a good thing to try here.
Okay, this is Bellevue,
You're right.
and then right over here, this line here is Seattle, and then the Olympics Mountains.
Yeah.
If you look at that picture over there,
Yeah.
there's Bellevue. You can see Lake Washington
Yeah.
and the skyline for downtown Seattle. We'd love to have you.
Well, we have a pretty strong organizing committee, but I suppose the easiest thing to do is to get in contact with me. My name is Alan Upshaw, 7049 Northeast 163rd Street, Bothell in Washington, 98011. And the telephone number, if you want it, is area code 206-488-7288. We look forward to everybody coming, of Welsh extraction, if you like, or as many as possible, coming to Bellevue next year to enjoy this weekend event.
The guest conductor for the Gymanfa was Alun Guy from Cardiff. He's head of the music department at Ysgol Uwchradd Gymraeg Glantaf in Cardiff, and a very well-known Gymanfa conductor in Wales. But it isn't often that he gets to conduct in a building which is neither a church nor a chapel.
As you see, it's an armory, and they wheel out the tanks and the armoured vehicles, and they wheel in the Welsh exiles of North America and Canada, and ironically, we sing hymns of peace when the war vehicles have just gone out the back.
How do you prepare for an occasion like this?
You prepare in that you've got a general plan of the hymns, but until the congregation, the 3,000-odd congregation, have started singing and you've got the balance, you really have to play it ad hoc and impromptu.
But you do prepare during the few days before the Gymanfa, don't you have seminars for part singing and so on?
Yes, and this is another ironic point. In Wales, the Ysgol Gân, the preparation for the Gymanfa Canu, they've all but died. And here we are now in North America, and it's something new. This afternoon there will be workshops and the part singing preparation. I think perhaps Wales could take a lesson or two from this Gymanfa.
Any questions before we go on to the chorus?
Elynorion a Cherddorion, Henna neb and dyblu'r gan. Dring I Mariana, dring, dring, dring.
You've already mentioned the building. It's of a tremendous size. How difficult will it be to conduct in a building like this?
The difficulties come in, I would say, in the first 60 seconds, the first minute of actual singing. There you must work out the time lag, just see exactly what voices you've got, where are the strong voices, and with the organist, and you have to allow for a time lag. There will be a time lag, and so your conducting will be just slightly before the beat. I'm looking forward immensely. I can't wait for Sunday to come.
But in the end, everything went well, and viewers here in Wales had a taste of the Wilkes-Barre Gymanfa on S4C. Ymunwch eithe nawr ag un o sesiynau'r Gymanfa fel y dyngoswyd hi ar y rhaglen Dechrau Canu, Dechrau Canmol ar S4C. Croeso I chi'r Gymanfa Ganu fwyaf yn y byd. Allu arall y cae chi hynny, ond yma yng Ngogledd America. Mae yna 4,000 o bobl wedi dod o bob cwr o'r Unol Daleithiau yma I Wilkes-Barre ym Pennsylvania, i'r adeilad anferth yma sy'n cael ei alw'n armory, I ganu mawl I ddiw, a hynny ar brynhawn poeth iawn ddechrau mis Medi. Ymfudodd canodd o deuluodd o Gymru ardal Scranton a Wilkes-Barre ym Pennsylvania ddiwedd y ganrif ddiwetha, I geisio'r bywyd gwell ac I weithio mewn glofeydd glo. Dechrau mis Medi roedd Dyffryn y Susquehanna a dinas Wilkes-Barre'n gartre oddi cartre, I bobl wedi bwrw I gwreiddiau mewn mannau tra gwahanol I Gymru. Ond mewn Gymanfa yn Pennsylvania, roedd yn rhaid canu'r dôn Wilkes-Barre a hynny dan arweiniad Alun Guy.
Alun, nid dyma tro cyntaf chi ddod i America i arwain Gymanfa?
Nag e, o'n i'n digon ffodus i gael gwahoddiad 10 mlynedd yn ôl yn 1983, a mae rai bod y bregaeth wedi mynd yn iawn oherwydd dyma fi nôl 10 mlynedd yn ddiweddarach eleni.
Mae'r adeilad yn adeilad rhyfedd iawn, armor yw e, lle mae'r fyddin fel rheol yn ymarfer yn dyfa menod i gael Gymanfa yma.
Odi, dwi wedi arwain mewn nifer o fannau gwahanol, a fi'n erioed mewn man lle un funud maen nhw'n cadw y holl offer, a holl geiriach rybel, a welen ni wedyn y dydd nesaf yn canu ymynau heddwch a gofyn am dang newydd yn y byd a'r holl offer tu allan yn barod i ladd.
Oes yna wahaniaeth yn eich paratoi chi fel arweinydd rhwng paratoi yng Nghymru a paratoi ar gyfer rhywbeth yma?
O, oes. Yng Nghymru, i ddechrau, maen nhw nes ato chi. Mae yna gysylltiad a'r berthynas yn agos iawn. Mae'n hawdd gwneud. Fan hyn, dych chi siarad am dros 2,000 o gynulleidfa. Fedrwch chi ddim trio fod yn glefer am wneud gormod. Mae rhaid i chi gadw'r peth ynghyd. Mae rhaid i'r arwain fod ychydig ar ôl y curiad. A mae rhaid i chi fod yn ofalus iawn sut ych chi'n trin pawb. Mae cadw pawb efo'i gilydd sydd wedi dod ynghyd, mae yna dipyn o das, ond dwi'n ei fwynhau e. Mae'r Emyn Dôn Mawlgan yn dod â ni ynghyd Cymru, a chysylltiad â Gogledd America yw bod bardd y geiriau Cymraeg, parchedig Spinter James o Dal y Bont, Ceredigion yn wreiddiol, wedi bod yn weinidog yn yr Amerig yn ystod 60au'r ganrif diwethaf. Oliant iddo byth, amen. Felly, dyn ni'n mynd i ganu y dôn Bryn Myrddin, dôn boblogaidd dros ben o waith Morgan Nicholas o Ben y Cai, Aberafon. Mawr oedd Crist, mawr oedd Iesu, mawr Iesu yn ei berson, mawr fel Duw a mawr fel Dydd.
Yr Emyn John Rhys o waith W.J. Evans, Abertdar, a geiriau Elfed Lewis, Gynwyl Elfed, yn un o rymoedd emynyddol mawr ein gwlad. Mae cyfuniad y John Rhys a'r geiriau yn un o'r hoff emynau nifer fawr ohonoch chi yma heddiw.
Beth ddathach chi i America, John Morgan?
Wel, o'n i wedi bod yn y fyddin Brydeinig am flynyddau, ac wedyn o'n i am fywyd mwy ramantus, sy'n credu. Yeah.
Tipyn o waniaeth rhwng Castell Newydd Emlyn a Detroit?
Wel, roedd, o'n i'n meddwl amser o'n i'n ifanc bod Castell Newydd yn dre fawr, ond pan o'n i wedi Detroit oedd hi'n lawer mwy. Yeah.
A beth fuoch chi'n neud yn Detroit?
O'n i'n gweithio ar y papur dyddiol na, Detroit Free Press, ac fes i na am 25 years, da.
Yn y cyfnod na, fe welwch chi lot o newid yn y ddinas, siwr o fod?
O, do. Un amser oedd Detroit yn ddinas hapus iawn. Ond wedyn ar ôl hynny fe aeth i lawr, roedd pobl ddim yn ymuno ei gilydd ac mae'n debyg i fi ar adeg hynny fod mae'n anodd dod ar bobl ddu a'r bobl gwyn gyda'i gilydd. Yeah.
A mae'n cael yr enw fod yn murder capital, ydy?
Odi, mae'n credu fod Detroit nawr yn battleground. Odi. Hyd yn oed plant 8 a 40, maen nhw'n saith ei gilydd, lladd ei gilydd. Odi.
Beth mae dod i'r gymanfa fel hyn yn olygu i chi?
Cadw Cymru, cadw traddodiadau Cymru'n fyw. A wy'n credu fod y bobl yma yn gwneud yn dda. O bob rhan o America a Canada.
Achos di chi ddim yn cael cyfle i siarad lot o Gymraeg nawr?
Dim o gwbl. Un amser roedd chi yn Detroit, roedd llawer o bobl yn siarad Cymraeg, ond erbyn hyn maen nhw wedi gwasgwaru. Ac mae'n anodd cael dod at ein gilydd fel yr oedden ni'r amser hynny.
A dyna lle mae'r gymanfa'n dda?
Mae'n ardderchog. Dwi'n mwynhau dod. Wi wedi bod yn dod iddyn nhw o 1954 yn Philadelphia. Ac wi wedi ysgrifennu am y gymanfa bob blwyddyn ar ôl hynny.
Gymanfa yn olygu i ni cael ryw adiwiad yn ymreichod i. Cael cwrdd â hen ffrindiau falle ydy'r peth mwyaf. Mae rhywun wedi wneud ffrindiau ar hyd y blynydde a cael ei gweld nhw eto. A cael rhyw syniad o'r balchder yna o fod yn Gymraeg yna. A mae yna lawer iawn sy'n dod a ni'n siarad Cymraeg. A'r rhai o'n nhw wedi geni yn y wlad yma, o'n i'n siarad efo dyn ddoi o Iowa. Oedd wedi cael ei eni yn y wlad yma, ac medru siarad Cymraeg yn dda iawn. A dyna mae y gymanfa yn olygu i ni, fwyaf, beth yna.
Mae siawns i ymarfer tipyn bach yn yr iaith Cymraeg ac hiraeth, dwi'n meddwl. Cael yr atmosffer chi'n gweld o bethau Cymraeg a Cymraegedd ag canu'r hen gynaion, yr emynau a sôn am gartref.
A dysgu ambell i don newydd fel Blodwen.
Na fe, o'n i heb clywed yr emyn Blodwen o'r blaen yn ôl yng Nghymru, ac cyfansoddwr gan William Jones o Chicago, ac Top of the Pops yn America yw'r emyn Blodwen.
Felly fe ddaeth y gymanfa i ben a'r cantorion yn cloi i mawl gyda'r dôn fawreddog Cwm Rhondda. O Dduw ein crewr a'n cynhaliwr, diolch I ti am yn gwneud ni'n genedl a'n gwreiddiau'n mestyn lawr I ddeiar dy greadigaeth, lle bynnag y codwn ni babell. Cofian dy drigaredd bob un sy'n caru canu mawl I ti yn yn hiaith, a disg ni ddefnyddio'r doniau a'r oes ti I ni, gogoniant I thenw di yn unig. Amen. And now a little bonus by the courtesy of the Welsh Tourist Board, something to make you feel a little homesick, perhaps.